Welcome back, everyone. We're at On the Subject with Michael Velardo, your host. We're so excited. We have an incredible guest here today, Maria Cisneros, who's been in education nearly 30 years. She's a principal at Napa Valley Unified and the most recent Woman of the Year for the county. We are so lucky to have you today. Thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're really excited. We are huge fans of your work, how many students you've impacted. At this point, how many people you've impacted in this world? It's probably over 1 million if you think about the butterfly effect. Your students' friends, their families, that's really special to us. And so we just would love to learn, why did you want to go into education? What made you want to be a teacher and further a principal?
I think my job started when I started interpreting for other people. When I moved to the U.S. when I was 10 years old.
Where'd you move from?
I was from Jalisco, Mexico.
Very cool.
So my parents, we lived in a small ranch in Jalisco, and I think my father saw the vision that if we stay there, things were going to be a bit tough. He came here in 1978 and worked 8 hours a day, made good money, and as a migrant worker, and went back home and said, why am I working from sun up to sundown and not really making ends meet? And so he decided to move us north at that time, and we've been here ever since.
And you moved to LA, correct?
No, actually, well, we did a little jump stop in LA because my uncle my uncle lives here. And then we went to Lake County. I have 7 brothers. And so
how many sisters?
2. So there's 10 of us.
It's a big family.
10 of us, yeah. We would often tease my mother, it's like, you missed the soccer team by one.
Yeah.
And so, no, my eldest brother, he moved to Lake County and established himself there at an orchard. And so he became the manager. And so little by little, my brothers started moving north. And we came and landed in Lake County. That's where we worked. And so we worked for the Sealeys for a very long time until we, grew up and decided to kind of move into our own professions.
So then how did you navigate, especially being an immigrant? So cool. The immigrant experience is so one of a kind. Coming to the U.S., learning a new language, what was that like for you? You were an English learner, I assume?
Yes, I was. English learner, migrant, worked in the fields for quite some time. I think for me, I was so young, I was 10 years old when I moved here, that it was my father's vision and my mother's vision to really have a better life. And for me, I've always respected my father or my parents in general, just for having that foresight around how economies change and what that means in terms of growing up as a child. We moved to a community where there's 1,000 people. We were probably one of 3 large families in the area. So we were, for about a year and a half, we were the only family that spoke Spanish, that didn't speak English.
Oh, wow.
And so we had to pick it up really quick. So, by, we landed in Lake County in July of 1979, and by August and September, I was cussing teachers out because, that's the first thing you learn in English, right?
It is the easiest to remember, for sure.
Easiest to remember, and your peers, they make sure that you know that. And so I think for me, I've always enjoyed reading, and so knowing that I was going to learn a different language, I was in a different place. And, I do have to be honest, I came here illegally, so I can't tell you that I came here through the proper, process. We crossed the hills of Tijuana, got caught, got thrown in the cages for about, 8 hours, and then my uncle figured out a different way to come across, the border and whatnot. And so, very unique experience, I guess you would say, but traumatic. And so for a long time, I looked over my shoulder as a kid. I was just waiting to see if we were going to get picked up by immigration. And so I think also that's what kept us really close to the home. Don't venture too far out because you might get caught. And so through the amnesty of 1983, that's when, for me, because I was one of the few that could translate the paperwork for the local folks that were starting to move in, more Latinos were starting to move in, especially during harvest season. So my job then became to translate for the immigration representatives that were coming in to fill out the amnesty paperwork for the individuals. And so after a while, I'm like, it's easier for me to do it than for me to telling you what to do. So I just took over. And so I think I was a junior in high school by that time. And
so then did you feel a big sense of relief when
did.
that had to be so free? And that was before you went to college, or?
Before I went to college.
So when you went to Sonoma State, you felt, hey, I have the full life ahead of me. You decided I wanted to give back to young people. I wanted to get an education. was that really a reflection of some of the stress anxiety that you had as a kid and saying, hey, I was looked at as the interpreter, the translator, and I was able to help people? That made me feel really good. What was it like? What made you want to impact people so much?
I think you hit it on the nail. It's right there. I mean, at the end of the day, I always felt that I was, for whatever reason, I felt like I was privileged and people saw something in me. But I also observed on how other people that looked like me were treated. And I was like, well, why me and not them? And so for me, the sense of equity and fairness has always been a huge part of how I carry myself and how I want to see the world. And so I knew that if I was going to impact a community, it would be more through education. When I was in college, I did a little bit of the student teaching thing. Not for me. But I could handle small groups, right? I could do the one-on-one, and so that's why I went into counseling. And so I was a high school counselor at Napa High for 5 years, and coached girls basketball during that time. So,
who's your favorite girls basketball player?
Oh, you know what? There's been many, but for me, Cheryl Swoops. She's pretty special. She's pretty special, and so I grew up mostly watching a little more of the NBA. And so for
who's your favorite team?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the Lakers.
Yeah, Lakers, Lake Show. We're in LA.
Yeah, we're in LA.
LA, this is where the place to be for basketball.
Yeah, it definitely is. And so, growing up and just really paying attention to who was doing what in terms of good things happening in the community, I found a way to kind of get involved in stuff like that. So for me, it was about equity. How do we get students that may not have whatever abilities people were seeing in me to have them have the same opportunities?
Yeah, education empowers so many folks, and we always say, education, while definitely there's, inequities and, fairness, unfairness in all walks of life, even education, it is the true equalizer that can help people, surpass the generation before them and their family. And so we believe in education so much. I know that we both share that passion. One thing we really talk about with education, especially how we engage students today and that content angle, you talk about one-on-one time. Could not agree more with you. And, for those of you out there listening, is a really great podcast, the Andreessen Horowitz podcast. They talk about how one-on-one time with a student is the most impactful by far, statistically. Yeah. Could not agree more with that. That's absolutely truth. And that's why we believe so much in video and digital media being able to scale more one-on-time for counselors, for teachers, for admins, because when you have a 40 to 51 student-teacher ratio, it's really hard to get one-on-one time. How do we do a better job of engaging students with technology that allows for more one-on-one time as a teacher? Like, what do you see? What have you liked about subject for helping your students?
I think the accessibility. I mean, I've always been someone that likes to see the pedagogy, the teaching come alive. And I think in terms of subject through the videos, it provides that, that the sense of like you're not just listening to a lecture, is actually providing you little bits and pieces of the content. It's giving you an opportunity to stop and go back. And I think that's the beauty of the video is that you don't have to watch it all the way through. And if you do, you can, but then you can go back and go, oh, minute number 3.
Yes.
This is where the key, this is where there's some really key concepts that were shared, or the answer was given here, or a better explanation of X was provided. And so I think for me, that's the beauty of whatever online program, but I think subject has elevated that a bit more because especially now where the kids can't go right through the video.
Yes,
they have to really,
Hey, we take feedback really seriously.
Yeah.
I think that, and I love having you on site in our LAHQ. Was there anything that surprised you about being here where the videos are actually made, connecting maybe some of the dots of, how much subject really does invest in the videography? A lot of, vendors, companies, at the end of the day, they are businesses, as are we, and we own that all the way. But sometimes they want to race to the bottom and do the cheapest quality so that way they can make a larger profit. We've really wanted to pass all of our investment into student success by building better videography. Could you tell that by being on site today?
Oh, I can definitely tell. We were, at a game at some point, we were kind of teasing about, Maria, you're going to show up to the studio, so I'm going to say, oh, yeah, that's the little closet. Yeah. It is not a closet. It's just this beautiful, you have such a beautiful space to think and to really showcase the work that, your passion. I mean, it really reflects your passion.
We're so passionate. This is This is a calling to society, and similar to your passion. And I would love to learn more. Napa Valley Unified, it's one of the largest districts in California. Not many folks know that. It's in the top 10% size-wise in all of California, which is a huge state. What's it been like seeing the district evolve over the last 15 years, and how big the area has gotten?
Well, like I said, I started working there in '94.
Yeah, it's changed a lot since '94. Yeah,
It's definitely changed a lot, but I think that the focus on making sure that all students have access to
yes.
all levels of courses, I think that for me has been a highlight. I know in terms of my role in what I needed to do when I first came to Napa High, where I saw some things, I'm like, okay, Spanish for Spanish speakers course is not college prep. Why? I didn't understand that. So, I happened to have a family that pushed me a bit to make it happen. And so by the end of the year, boom, college prep. So now I walk into a boardroom where they're honoring the syllabi literacy, and the majority of the young students graduating, their syllabi literacy is in the foreign language department with the Spanish speakers.
Wow, that's amazing.
And it's not just our Latino youth that already came in speaking Spanish. We have in the elementary schools, we have some bilingual programs at Napa Valley Language Academy, Unidos in middle school, and so we have a very robust bilingual program, and so we wanted that to be reflected and have our students, even our newcomers that might be arriving to the U.S. for the first time and they're taking those courses, well, they have a literacy, in their own language. So why are we not providing that level of support? And so back in 2002, we brought AVID, which is another kind of equalizer, right, to kind of level that playing field. We were having maybe 25% of our students were meeting A through G, and then once AVID came on board, it exponentially. 90% of our kids in AVID were meeting A through.
That's incredible. Well, that's a huge testament to your leadership.
It's a huge, it really changed that.
Helps them get in the Cal State, UC.
It sure does.
It's the largest public university system in the country. And, I don't think we talk enough about how important UC A through G completion is compared to just graduation requirements. And it sounds like you put a huge emphasis on it. We really at Subject, all of our courses are UC A through G compliant because we don't want you to just graduate. We want you to be able to go and have success at university. I did hear a crazy stat the other day. 44 million Americans have some college but no college degree and are all carrying debt. Mm-hmm. Isn't that wild? So, setting a student to go to community college, state university, and fail out or quit, that is not teeing them up for success. And I know we share that passion in high school. And, what would you say, especially over the last 10, 15 years, when you were using legacy providers, what have you been able to see Subject do better than them to help them make it a clear decision why you want to use Subject?
Well, for us, it was really around the rigor. Yeah. We needed, and then we also needed to see a stronger component in the writing. Programs that we had seen before didn't have a very strong writing component, and so if our students are not practicing, if they're not putting to paper their thoughts, their ideas, their critical thinking, and being able to see it in writing, I don't know that we're really doing a service to the student, especially when we're saying we want you to graduate college and career ready.
Correct.
As we're putting an emphasis on career technical education and that alignment, through the A through G courses. For me, I think Subject was the fact, too, that we got the library.
Yep. All you can eat buffet.
All you can eat buffet. I wasn't, I need an elective class. Oh, here it is. I don't have to pay extra for it.
No, we never want hidden costs. We want to be like Netflix. Netflix of education. You buy Netflix, you can watch Squid Game, Narcos, anything you like, and we're excited about it.
And I think for me, just the relationship or collaboration that we've built since we started. I can text Juan. I can text you.
He's a great teammate. Yeah. No, we have some really special folks, and that's the big thing that I really want us to really summate this or end this incredible discussion is. It's all about the students at the end of the day, and that's why we care so much about working with you. Your passion. That's why our team is so available to you. But what could we do to help those students out there? At Napa, they're trying to finish they have, graduation coming up, or they're trying to get the summer break. How can we inspire them? What would you like to say to your students? Say, hey, keep going, keep trying. We have a great opportunity ahead of you. Take your education seriously. You could go so far in life. We're excited about this. If you could speak into the camera.
I guess what I could say, just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. You're going to get there. Work every day. What are 3 things you're doing to meet your goal? And just keep pushing. You got this. Graduation's not too far away. That's true, but just take a deep breath and let's get there together. You got this.
Well, you heard it here first. That's On the Subject with Maria. We are so excited to have her here. Napa students, but also any student, you got this. Take a breath. You're going to get through this. We promise you 3 months from now, 3 years from now, you're going to look back and laugh at how much stress you were under. It's going to be great. Thank you for joining us on the subject, and thank you for your time, Maria. It was amazing.
Thank you so much.